Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison is just one of two Muslim Americans serving in Congress. Now, since taking office, he has had his fair share of controversy. And last year, while outrage was spreading all across the country over the proposed Ground Zero mosque, Congressman Ellison made an outrageous comparison and even lashed out at Fox News.
In 1955, we declared that Rosa Parks, a black woman, who had the right to sit anywhere on the bus she chose to. Now, some people might say, well, Ms. Parks, you're making people feel uncomfortable. The good citizens of Montgomery don't feel comfortable with somebody like you sitting near them. So why don't you just go to the back, even though you have the right to sit up front? Now, hopefully from a 2010 perspective, we would all, be shocked at such an attitude. But that is exactly the attitude that it's being expressed regarding this project. You listen to Fox News, that station is 24/7 trying to excite and divide Americans along religious lines, scapegoating the Muslim community. But, and this is sort of a well-worn right-wing tactic.
Now, more recently, Congressman Ellison's testimony during the hearing on the radicalization of Muslims in America caused a stir when he told the story of a Muslim American paramedic who died on 9/11.
Mr. Hannity bravely sacrificed his life to try to help others on 9/11. After the tragedy, some people tried to smear his character solely because of his Islamic faith. Some people spread false rumors and speculated that he was in league with the attackers because he was a Muslim. But it was only when his remains were identified that these lies were exposed.
And I sat down with the congressman to discuss these comments and much more. Congressman, welcome to the program. Your first time.
Glad to be here, Sean.
All right, I want to go back. There's been a lot of issues, and I've followed a lot of the statements that you've made a lot of controversial statements since you've been congressman. Let me give you one example. You said, for example, you were calling the New York City mosque foes or opponents of Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf bigots and birthers, and you made a comparison to Rosa Parks. Can you give us some detail as to why?
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I will say that some of the opponents of Park 51, in fact, did say some things that I thought were intolerant, and that I'm one who believes in religious tolerance in our country, and I believe that people of all colors, all faiths, and all backgrounds ought to be able to pursue their First Amendment rights and their right to freedom of expression. But the fact is, Sean, that many of the people who opposed the Park 51 were people who did that on the basis of good faith. Some weren't, and I called them out on it.
Well, you actually called out Fox News. You said in a BBC interview, you said that I think if you listen to Fox News, the station 24/7 is trying to incite and divide Americans along religious lines, scapegoating the Muslim community, and this is a sort of well-worn right-wing tactic. Can you give me a specific example?
Well, Sean, I tell you, you do the show. You know what you guys broadcast all the time. I mean, I stand by the statement. I will say this, Sean, that look, I came on your show because you invited me here to talk about the issues, and perhaps this is a moment when we can really delve down into the substance of the issues that we either agree or disagree on. But, to dive into a bunch of quotes about you said this about us and explain why you said it, I mean, I have had disagreements with some of your reportage, Sean, and I don't apologize for it.
But Congressman, in fairness, though.
Hang on, but I am straight up enough to come on your show to talk about the issues, to try to talk them through. Now, if you're telling me that you guys are going to try to be a little bit more even-handed when it comes to dealing with issues of religious tolerance, I welcome that. I'm for that. I think that's actually a good step, and I thought that by inviting me here, that's what you were trying to do. But I didn't really come on the show to get in a big debate with you about every quote I've ever made.
Congressman, you said about this network, this is an incredible charge. This is a charge of bigotry. You said Fox News...
Sean, I heard what you said.
I gave you a time uninterrupted. I gave you a time uninterrupted. I'm going to quote you.
Sean,
you said Fox News 24/7 is trying to incite and divide Americans along religious lines, scapegoating the Muslim community. I want one example. Give me one.
One example is that after the hearings that Peter King did, you refer to you talk about, every time you talk about terrorism and radicalization, you always attach the word Muslim to it, or Islamic, and that particular connection, I think that's unfair. I mean, I think that terrorism is a problem that all Americans. No, let me finish, because you asked me. Now I'm going to answer you. Yeah, I think that terrorism is a scourge. It's something that all Americans are against. We all stand against Al Qaeda. But when you only associate radical and violent extremism with one religious group, I think that's too bad, and I think it's unfortunate. Okay. So there's your one example, Sean.
The 9/11 Commission report says that they were, meaning radical Islamists, those that are involved in jihad, those that kill in the name of Allah, those that think 72 virgins await them in heaven, those that have perverted a religion, radical Islamists, they said, the 9/11 Commission report, they are at war with us.
I stand against those individuals.
And we are not at war with them. So my question to you is, are we at war with radical Islam?
We are at war with violent extremists who would kill Americans, and some of them people might be Muslim, they might be white supremacists, they might be people who would kill at abortion clinics, they might be of any description. We don't stop at one particular group. We are trying to protect Americans from any violent extremists, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, any kind. That's what I think is the right position.
I have another question for you, because staying on the issue of the 9/11 mosque, let me ask you, Imam Rayouf said that the United States policies were an accessory to the crime that happened on 9/11. He also said Osama bin Laden is made in the USA, and he also said that America needs to be more Sharia compliant. Do you agree with him?
No, I don't. Well, I don't agree with that position. To tell you the truth, I don't know what he said, but what you said that he said, I don't agree with.
He said
I don't agree with the position. I don't agree with the quotes you just read. I believe that Osama bin Laden is a criminal who should be arrested and should be held accountable for what he did. I don't think that innocent Americans who were killed on 9/11 had any blame whatsoever in their fate, and I stand opposed to anybody who thinks so.
All right, because and I'm glad to hear you say that, because you were calling the foes of the mosque bigots, and I found his statement so over the top and bigoted in and of itself, and I'm glad to hear you say that. Let me ask you, as we move on.
Sean, let me say, I didn't call all of the opponents of Park 51 bigots. Some were, many were not.
You made a comparison.
There were people who had legitimate beliefs that were against that effort, but you know what? That's America. We all have a right to our difference of opinion. There were some individuals who I believe expressed extreme intolerance, and I stand by that.
And coming up, more of my interview with Congressman Keith Ellison, coming up after the break. And welcome back to Hannity. We continue now with more of my interview with Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison. I've interviewed Peter King many times about these hearings that he's doing, and you gave a testimony there. Michael Chertoff said he has zero doubt that he knows for a fact that there are those that believe in the radicalization of Islam that are here in America. For example, you know, we've heard from controversial imams. We know there's recruiting going on here. We have the Nation of Islam with Louis Farrakhan. Does the Nation of Islam bother you at all?
Well, that's not an organization I'm associated with.
I'm asking.
Let me just tell you this.
Should we investigate them?
I mean, I think we should investigate people where there's probable cause to believe they committed a crime. Now, that's what I believe. As a person who practiced law for 16 years, I don't think, even if you don't like what people are saying, that you should call the instrumentality of the criminal justice system down on them. You need evidence of a crime to investigate people in a criminal justice context, Sean. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that, I think that that's why we have a Constitution. That's why the Fourth Amendment says that there should not be searches unless there's a reasonable basis for it, and unless it's an emergency, there needs to be a warrant issued by a judge. I mean, so I'm one of those who believes in the Constitution. Just saying let's investigate this person or that person just because I don't agree with their philosophy.
I think, again,
that's not something I go along with. I'm more of a constitutionalist.
Yeah, I'm a constitutionalist too.
I don't go in for the.
But the problem is,
so you and I must agree that we wouldn't just investigate a group because we don't agree with them.
The problem is
we got to have more than that.
The problem is,
you agree with that, right?
The problem is
Wouldn't
that if we have,
with that?
if you let me finish, I'm going to give you an answer. Relax. The problem is that if we have radical Islamists that believe in jihad as a means of achieving their goals, and they're in America, and our Homeland Security Secretary says so, and Peter King wants to investigate to check into it. It seems like a reasonable thing in light of 3,000 Americans killed on 9/11. I want to ask about your testimony, though, specifically, because you mentioned we're running out of time. I've let you filibuster enough.
Sean,
I want to ask you about Hannity because his remains were you talked about him in the hearing, and you got very emotional.
Yeah.
Okay. There's been a lot of criticism that you took that story out of context, that in fact there was maybe 1 or 2 or 3 reports that had been critical of him, but the Patriot Act mentioned him by name and in fact talked about what a great hero he was. Were you misleading the American people by saying that he had been attacked viciously?
Of course not. The fact is that, you know, I talked with his mother, I talked with his family, I talked with people who knew him and loved him, and I can tell you without a doubt that they were very much aggrieved about some of the rumors that some people, not all, were throwing around about him after they didn't know he was alive or dead. So all I try to do is humanize a guy who gave everything for his fellow countrymen and women. I was actually surprised that some people, including you, Sean, had such a negative emotional reaction when all I did is try to talk about a guy who was a hero. You can't deny that there was some people who were throwing rumors, negative rumors about him, and so I don't know why you're so upset.
He was singled out and praised in the Patriot Act. You led the American people to think there was widespread public criticism of him. I'd ask you to show us, because I could only find 2 articles that cite what you say. 2. So if you have any more, send them to me, because I don't see them, and our own Patriot Act praised him for his courage.
Are you going to let me respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to let me respond?
Go,
Do I get to respond?
Yes, you're responding.
What I'm saying is, what I said is that there were rumors that his family was very aggrieved about that were associating him with the attackers. They upset the family, they upset the community that young man happened to be from. And I talked about that, and I also talked about how when his remains were discovered that he was redeemed, his reputation was restored. Now, I don't know what the big problem is, Sean. I'm highlighting a contribution of a heroic American.
I agree, and our country was right to do so.
But I would think that you would join me. But I would think that you would join me in saying that those rumors, even if you think there were only a few of them, that those rumors weren't fair.
I just said it was the right thing to do.
Don't you agree with that?
What part of me saying it was the right thing to do to praise him?
What's the argument about?
You were saying that there was widespread condemnation.
What I was saying.
I support praising him for the hero that he was.
I said. No, Mr. Hannity, people told nasty rumors about him. You know that's true. I don't know why you're fighting me on this. You should condemn the rumors and praise the American who died for other Americans. Why won't you join me in this?
All I want
why won't you say those rumors,
I did.
Even if you don't think
I already did.
Wait a minute.
I already did.
To the family.
You're not listening. If you listen, you get the answer you want.
What do you say?
I got it right. We're going around in circles here. Let me say one last thing to you.
What do you say to the family?
I say I am sorry for your loss.
What do you say?
Hey, listen to me. I'll give you an answer.
To the family who suffered the rumors, what do you have to say? Do you say that was too bad?
Hello? I'll give you the answer. I say I am sorry for your loss. I am sorry.
Me too.
And I am also, your son was a hero, and I am glad this country it recognized him for his courage, which they did in the Patriot Act by name, which does not happen very often. It was beyond well-deserved, just like the firefighters and the policemen and the paramedics. And the only thing I want this country not to do, Congressman, and this is where maybe for a future discussion,
we have no disagreement on this issue.
I do not want. Our 9/11 Commission report said radical Islamists were at war with us. We must identify them. You seem unwilling to identify radical Islam as being at war with America. I don't.
I am willing to say that radical Islamists attacked America, but I'm also willing to say,
at war with America.
Listen,
at war.
Well, look. Okay, fine. They're at war with America. Al-Qaeda is at war with America. No, wait a minute. Al-Qaeda is at war with America, but Al-Qaeda is not the only enemy of America. They're not the only violent extremists. And I would ask you to stop trying to make it like only Muslims are the problem.
I didn't say that.
Our country has to protect
radical
from many
Islamists
sources.
are at war with America.
No, you keep on,
radical Islamists. I'm quoting the 9/11 Commission report. They were at war with us. We now had to engage them because if you go back to the embassy bombings, Kenya, Tanzania, the USS Cole, if you go back to all the other examples, and the first Trade Center attack, we ignored their attacks on us. In the name of God, they perverted a religion.
Is at war with America. I stand opposed to Al-Qaeda. I stand absolutely opposed to their efforts to radicalize Americans. I stand absolutely opposed to them, and I think we should stand together on that.
All right, Congressman, thank you. I hope you'll come back and see us again.